So hello and welcome to Besaçon in France, home of the final round of the UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup. We've just seen a very quick women's race because the conditions today are incredibly fast. It's sunny, as you can see, it's dry, and this means that Laurens Fick, who's taken to the start line, should hopefully have a clear run through. He's taken away the top spot. However, we are missing a number of riders. Michael van Toren out, Lars van der Haar not taking to the start, but in terms of positions and points, realistically, Eli Isabit could move up into second place, but he needs to take the win here today. And in these conditions, it's not necessarily going to suit a light, small rider. It's incredibly quick. Will it suit riders like our World Cup leader, who may be a little bit faster, people like Laurens Fick?
Laurens Fick, are you feeling a bit more relaxed because the World Cup is already in the pocket?
Yeah, of course. Today is only a bonus, I think, and yeah, for sure I will try to go on the podium. But yeah, the main goal is already there, so it's already really good now.
Do you have a specific plan for today's race?
Well, not really. I think it will be more close than last year because it's a lot more faster. So yeah, it will be. We have to check in the first laps how the race will go, and then I hope I can be in the front till the end, and then make also a good finish laps yeah, for next week.
Steve Chanel, quelle est l'émotion maintenant parce que c'est la dernière course de votre carrière?
Ouais, ce matin je me suis réveillé, je dis dernier petit déjeuner, dernier câlin à mes enfants et dernier trajet en voiture. C'est bizarre parce que j'ai fait mon premier championnat du monde en 2000 à Saint-Michel-Guestel et 23 ans après être encore sur le circuit. Je pensais jamais faire 23 ans et c'est une partie de ma vie qui s'achève, mais il faut passer à autre chose.
Why did you choose this race this weekend instead of racing in Belgium?
Also for the points for the World Cup, for sure, to be on the first row. That was one of the things I thought about, but also, yeah, it's nice to race in France as well. I've did already a lot of races in Belgium this year, and I think, yeah, I stayed in Benidorm also after the race, and then it was not that difficult to get here.
Was it also a deliberate choice to not have a battle against Wout van Aert again 1 week before the Worlds, or not really?
No, not really. I mean, in the past, we've always had the battle the weeks before, so I don't think that has anything to do with both of our choices.
Ben je exact op het niveau waarop je wil staan een week voor het WK?
Ik denk het wel. Het is ja, altijd moeilijk aan te voelen. Je mikt toch vooral op volgende week en ja, dit weekend neem je er dan bij.
Gisteren heb je een mooie podiumplaats gereden. Ik veronderstel dat je vandaag voor hetzelfde resultaat wil gaan.
Ja, zeker. Mathieu staat, denk ik, als topfavoriet hier aan de start. Ook voor die overwinning. En ik denk dat de rest toch voor die tweede plek moet strijden ook. En dat zal wel de bedoeling zijn. Het zou heel mooi zijn als ik 2 keer tweede kan worden dit weekend. Dan heb ik toch een mooi weekend gehad. Maar de benen voelen nog vermoeid aan van gisteren. Dus het zal een beetje afwachten worden in het begin van de wedstrijd wat het zal geven.
Veel succes vandaag. Dankjewel.
So some very different views on the way through. Eli Isabit, the winner last year. Steve Chanel, the winner the preceding year when it wasn't a World Cup. Steve Chanel saying he can have breakfast with his kids as they make his way to the race, which is very strange. Feeling Matthew Vanderpoel stopping in Podium a little bit longer and making the journey hitting here on the way up. And great to see actually coming to race in France. A really strong cyclo-cross scene out and around France, and their national series as well as the World Cup's always producing some great racing. This year, very different course in terms of the level of mud or lack of mud. Last year, if you've watched the racing, you'll know that it was basically a real slog. Tractor power just churning your way around made all the difference. Not the case today. It's going to be very quick, very fast indeed. Virtually no mud on there, so right on the limits of speed and grip. So the first of our front row riders making the way down to the start. Vincent Baystain's coming down, 6th place and a 9th place so far. Makes his way down in front of Toon van der Bosch. Toon, our next rider, making his way to the start. And 8th place, 3 9th places. Currently in 9th place. Best he can hope for today is a 7th in the series overall. We'll see if he can move up. Felipe Utz, after having been on his home track down in Benidorm previously, now making his way up here, 6th, 7th and 9th place, and could potentially move up 2 or 3 places here today in the overall series with the absence of Van Turnhout, Van der Haar, and of course putting in a storming performance. Kevin Kuhn, the next rider down. Kevin riding in the Tolman's jersey, that very distinctive blue and yellow. Kevin Kuhn with 1 podium in the series, round 11 of the round so far. However, it is going to be former world champion, and of course the man so many have come to see, Mathieu Vanderpoel here. So 4 wins, a 2nd place, and a ride round at Val di Sole basically to set him up. 6 rounds ridden, currently in 6th place. He could move up to 5th place, top 5 position if he takes the win here today, depending on what everybody else does in terms of points. He's followed down by his teammate Niels van der Put with a 2nd place, ridden all 13 rounds so far. This means that if he finishes today, starts today and gets off that start line, he'll have ridden every single round of the World Cup this year. He's head of last year's winner onto the front row, Eli Iserbyt, the Paalsausen bingo rider, coming down, and you can see Eli. Well, at the start, he was thinking about what he can do here. He could move with a win in theory up into 2nd place, but assured of that 3rd place as a minimum. So the World Cup winner with 1 round to go. Didn't need to come down and ride at Besaçon, but Lawrence Wick enjoying that World Cup series lead, and the win he's going to take to start today, and a good rider when it's quick. Whether he's got the speed and pace to match the rest, we will soon see, but surely going to be on form. 2 wins for 2nd places, a 3rd place for Lawrence Wick. Really has put him in that unassailable position with nobody else able to touch him. Consistent all the way through, riding all 13 rounds so far, now on to 14. So the riders just losing the jerseys, losing the jackets, getting ready for that start final swig of the bottle. So Toon van der Bosch on the front row of the grid alongside 2 more of his teammates here today with Mathieu Vanderpoel. Surely the rider to be a fast race in Benidorm. It's going to be a fast race here today. Interesting, a lot of the riders still going for intermediates, nothing finer than that on display here today, wanting to be able to get that power down in the course. Hasn't cut up too much. That we'll see how they go on. No sand on the course. The hurdles, barriers or planks, as well as the step section, really the only place where the riders would need to run. So the 3rd of the Alpecin riders alongside Creelan Friestadt's Lawrence Wick. And that is Van der Put, and then Kevin Kuhn. Kevin had a great race, great ride in Benidorm. It was good to see him back on form, ahead of the man who took his jersey, Timo Rug, the Swiss champion, behind. You can see we've also got Curtis White behind Felipe Orts, the Spanish champion. Felipe on the front row of the grid, alongside Vincent Baestays from Belgium, and we'll see whether Baestays can put in a performance that will take him into a top 5 position. That will give him his best result. Steve Chanel lined up. Steve down on the 5th row of the grid, so ground to make up. He's going to have plenty of people to have fun overtaking on the way towards the front. So the tunes slowly wind up. The riders will see the tape withdrawn by the race team and then set away by the lights changing from red to green. The race officials check the watches. Our riders are lined up, ready to go, and away they go very quickly off from the moment Nigel stepped out of the way. The lights went green and the riders are away. Who's going to get the fastest start here? Looks like Kuhn on a good start in the centre here. for the Thomas team, but Mathieu Vanderpoel should take that first position going in and around. Long right-hand horseshoe here to take them around, then a tighter left-hand turn coming up. We're watching that bunch at the moment. Looks like, I think, all of the riders out safely. Just going to take a look back. 51 riders from 13 nations, 12 French riders here fighting it out for position. And of course, the spaces will open up tight inside line there. Looks like that was Ots who just got tangled up on the crasher padding on the side of that tree, but it's going to be Vanderpoel first into this set of steps here. So it is Vanderpoel leading out at the moment. Well, they won't want to let him go early on. They won't want to let him go at all on this course, but interesting to see Lawrence Fick saying he would have to see how it rides in here. So Ryan Campbell, the 12,000 bingo team, the rider who's up into third place, just a little bit taller and bigger. You just see Ellie is a bit currently down in what is going to be about 12th position. You could just see this charge in to this corner here. Oh, you can see that back of Mathieu Vanderpoel working hard there to force the power around. And up over the top side at the moment, it's Vanderpoel, Kuhn, Camp, Hendricks in there from the Creeland Freestats team at the moment. Van der Putte right up in the mix with Ronha. Not all that far off, neither is Stan Godry. Bainstain's in that mix too. Good to see that we've got the whole group moving at pace and pretty much through clear. So just taking a look at down Timon Rugg down in 16th place last we saw coming through, looking to move up. Felipe Orts behind Thomas Main, the rider riding for Hope Factory Racing from Great Britain, one of the few British riders here. But you can see it's just a queue to get in and around those corners just behind the main pack. You can just see that we've got Lawrence Fick just holding position there. But as they go out on to this straight, Kuhn up there now, just seeing his teammate come up alongside him here, going up on to the climb here. So it looks like T-Sats, it's going to be who's going to lead them away this time. There really is a fight up at the front. So T-Sats in here, leading them off from the steps, but it is just one mass of riders. And there's so many overtaking opportunities here. If a rider just eases off slightly, you're going to find somebody who will dive bomb up the inside, trying to make a move where there is a little bit of width on this course. So the two Tormans riders on the front, Bingo at second, the Palsos and Bingo rider in the red and black in third. Then you can see our two riders from Alpecin de Koenig. Then it's going to be Creeland Freestats behind. The big, strong cross teams are putting riders up into the front here. Looks like that's Isabit just with a little gap in front of him to the leading group coming through. So our leaders are just starting to pull a little bit of a gap out, but you see a very quick move for that. So Nürnhaus coming through in the red and blue, pretty much from the back of that pack right the way up to the front, just carrying so much speed in and through. And this is going to make things very, very difficult for the riders. They keep on pushing onwards here. Big queues further back down this race. You see riders who are pushed out to the far right-hand side there, right or left, just struggling with that bank. Just even tougher to get up this race, not sorting itself out yet. So dropping down, it is Nürnhaus who's got that race lead. The Balois rider on the front, just making his move as he went into that climb. However, you can see everybody behind it is just fighting for position, fighting for lines. A little bit scrabbly down there, just really interested in watching now Marco Pavan of Italy going around there, his feet scrabbling for grip. That will have broken up the rut that was deep on the inside. You could see his feet sliding off that rut, and that may well have done some damage to that. That might catch a few riders out as they come around next time round, next lap. But at the moment on lap number 1, 5 minutes of racing since the lights turned green. The group's just opening up, so the chasing group now being led by Main behind. The Hope Factory Racing Rider continue to push. Not the best change there from Jakob Rimmen. And the pit as they came through there, just a little bit scrappy, but the speed the riders are coming through that pit, it's almost at sprint speed as they're having to exchange bites. So back on to the front goes Thiesetz. It's leading Nieuwenhuis in second position at the moment. Kevin Kuhn, well, he was in third, just being passed here. The French champion comes up on his shoulders. Clement Venturini looking very strong on home ground. He'll be getting the support of the crowd here, up into third position. So Venturini taking the national champions jersey only a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and looking very strong. He came over the top, just a little bit of a wobble as he dropped over the roadway there, but at the moment, Thies at Joost Nieuwenhuis now. Nieuwenhuis over on the top there, takes that right-hand line. Venturini right up in the mix. Venturini, this is going to be a good position for him if he can hold on to this, if he can stay out of trouble up at the front, but behind one long mass of riders coming through. I think the riders just letting the race thin out, the front pack going through, the leading group in and over the line. Venturini's lap time 6:32 from the start of the race as they come through that starting round this section of washboard. Well, the gap that had opened up behind the front 20 riders just being closed down on that section, so the big pack all together just scrolling through the time gaps on the screens. There's nothing separating the top riders on the way through. Venturini in the lead, just going over those hurdles, and just looks to me like the front group coming through cleanly. The pack a little bit busier further back. Laurens Vink choosing to run just maybe a little bit further down than we're used to seeing him, but with that serious sun, he will not want to make a mistake that will cost him energy on the way through. He'll want to have a smooth run. He certainly won't want to be picking up an injury or a knock or a niggle on the run into the World Championships, which is at Hooghai next week. So to set the race in context, last race of the 14-round World Cup. We have seen some riders racing yesterday and making the trip across. Most of the riders who are here, though, choosing to ride the World Cup to pick up the UCI points to keep them as far up the field at the World Championships on that start grid as possible. Lots of the riders, though, battling it out for position in terms of their selection previously, maybe not choosing to do so this time round. And of course, we've got the World Championships coming up, so a lot of riders training hard to get into those World Championships. Eli Iserbyt, a rider again like Vink, who really, unless he takes the win, isn't going to move position, being dropped further down through the standings, and I think is potentially not going to figure in the result. Well, one man who's going absolutely flat out or bust at the moment is Clement Venturini. What would it take to take a home win here today? It was Steve Chanel, the last French winner here in Besaçon. That is 2 years ago. Before it was a World Cup. Eli Iserbyt, Tooners and Pim Romha, the top three from last year. A little bit of a dab there, just coming around that turn for Laurens Vink, the World Cup winner, already just having to keep himself back up into position.
Allez, 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 Clément, allez!
I can hear the cries of Allez, Clement Venturini, of course, the rider from France, the French champion, and at the moment, the rider in the race lead. You see no gaps. It's still absolutely frantic at the moment. We're on lap number 2. The lap numbers will be decided by our commissaires. Our race officials, and that will then be communicated at the end of lap number 2. So lap number 2 is the lap that we're looking for to give us the numbers on the way out. Venturini really is keeping the pace as hot as he can, trying to line out these riders, trying to give himself as much of a chance here at the moment, though some of the big names maybe sitting a little bit further back, and it's certainly a chance. I think these riders are aware that this is a good chance to take it on a World Cup and get themselves up onto the podium, if not take the win here today. So a look over the shoulder of Venturini, just so you know what damage he's done. French champion out of the saddle. You see just a long, prolonged kick out of the saddle there before sitting back down again, accelerating up. Nieuwenhuis sitting, looking pretty composed in 3rd position there. The rider in the blue with the red helmet and the red sleeve and gloves, just in front there of Ryan Camp from the Pau Sausen squad. Well, Michael Boris on a good ride. Boris right up inside the top 15, just making his way in and through in that Czech national champs jersey. But it's a French national champion in Besaçon in the final round of the World Cup, leading out at the moment. He'll want to hold that position. Great to see so many crowds out and watching here in Besaçon. 2-hour journey by TGV down by train from Paris to get here today, so not all that far. Not far from the Alps either, about an hour and a half from Geneva. The head of the race, well, you're going to see the names up on the left-hand side, but to be brutally honest, that could change in an instant. The speed these riders are going, this leading group just starting to open a little bit of daylight to the riders behind, but we could quickly see that gap close down. So Venturini, Kuhn, Nieuwenhuis, Camp, Vanderpoel. Then it's Hendricks just about in touch with the group. It's only a few seconds back to Hendricks from our race leader. And then you're going to find Van der Bosch, Isabit, Van Kessel, Boris, Svik, Basings and Main. So this section where the riders go up onto the top of the bank, in a section where it does pay to be in first, you see a lot of compression and then expansion between the riders, between the gaps in between those riders, but getting away quickly. It's one of those sections where the riders really want to push on. As we make our way around, we're coming in towards the last part of lap number 2. So interesting to see Joshua Dubois and his brother up in 17th and 18th position inside the top 20. Fontana 20th position for the Italian at the moment. So a lot of our familiar names from mountain biking in here as well as in cross, and an ominous sign for all riders. That moment has come. Mathieu van der Poel's taken the gloves off. Generally a sign that in the next half lap or so, expect to see him put an attack and move up. Generally, when the gloves come off and the shades come off, you know he means business. So Colin Van Kessel maybe not where we would expect, maybe expect to see him slightly further up through that race field, just dropping back a little bit. Here we go into the hurdles, into the planks or barriers once again. Venturini landing, looking over his shoulder, as does Kevin Kuhn there, just wanting to see how much damage has been done. Svik, the last rider through there. Now camera's dropping back to Steve Chanel. Steve having a fantastic racing career, a regular French champion, a great rider, and very engaging when you've have a chat with him if you're lucky enough to meet him in person. Very, very fun to talk with for sure. So Boris at the back of that group with a little gap opening behind Boris just keeping an eye on the front of this race. So Venturini still holding pace, holding position. But I think a little bit of the sting got out of that. The leading 6 or 7 riders just allowing the next group to come back up once again. So you can just see Elizabeth now starting to make a move over the top of Ryan Camp. They're just starting to move through the field. They got onto the back of the pack. And then using the stairs to go up the left-hand side. Make a few more places. So our Costa Rican rider coming in and through now. One of the big crowd favourites. Doesn't feature on the front. Nice to see that the guys, the camera's featuring down on him. And that is Felipe Timoteo Nistrom Spencer. To give him his full name and title, the Costa Rican rider has been on the World Cup season all the way through. He's been keeping everyone entertained. He's great value for money for his sponsors. He takes his time exposing the jersey to everybody on the way around. And more importantly, he's engaged loads and loads of riders and made loads of friends, and really has reminded us that cyclocross is for everyone. And there's lots of riders making long journeys to come across and ride on the World Cup, to race on the world stage. So this leading group still about 16 to 18 riders strong. It just keeps on gaining and losing riders on the way through. But Venturini still leading at the front of this group. Venturini, Newhouse, Kuhn in there. Just sees it go in to the steps there. And that Niels Vanderpoel just trying to stay in this group. He's dropped a little bit further back as Nieuwenhuis now goes and tries to challenge Venturini at the front. I think he's going to get the front spot as they come in and through, but very quickly responded to. So Vanderpoel moving up in to fourth position as they come in through the security fencing, just heading out through that gateway once again. So Nieuwenhuis now into lead, Venturini down to second position in the French champions jersey. Just a little bit of a stabilisation, just putting his leg out there by Nieuwenhuis, just on the uphill side and on the inside there. Well, is that a sign that Nieuwenhuis may be not as comfortable? You can just see the ground still pretty much compacted on the way through. Even with the pace of our riders going through. Our cameraman searching for all the great shots down here, and got to say a big thanks to all the team who've been grabbing us images all the way around the World Cup here. As a move now goes down on the right-hand side. This is a move by Kevin Kuhn. He accelerates up. Who's on his wheel? Vanderpoel in second wheel, followed Kuhn on the way through. And now you're seeing a scramble for the wheels. They all know this is a dangerous moment as they come in and through. And you can see the damage that's been done behind now. Big chase having to come from Thies there. Thies is right up in the front. He's not anymore. He got dispatched from that front group. He led out at the top of the first set of steps. He's been dispatched backwards. Kuhn really had a great race. The last few races, Zonhoven, he was going well at the next round at Benidorm, were riding really strongly. But this row's very close together at the moment. And just seeing Elias just moved up through this pack. He's moved his way a little bit closer in contention, and it looks to me like Toon van den Bosch maybe just labouring a little bit as he goes up that banking. So we're on lap 3 of 9. So at the end of this, there'll be a third of the way through the race distance. At the moment, Kevin Kuhn, the former Swiss champion, is leading this group. Out behind him, Matthew Vanderpoel. No, it's Nieuwenhuis being followed then by Clement Venturini. You can see that Ryan Camp, Hendricks and Mees are still in the mix. That attack by Kuhn very quickly responded to. Nobody wanted to let him go. I think his ascent has been noted on the way through. He's been on the scene a long time now, and he's a known entity. Joris Nieuwenhuizen moving up through, one of the younger riders, and again his performances as a junior and as an under-23 really marking him out as a man to watch out for. Very distinctive, of course, with the beard, with the facial hair, makes it a little bit easier to spot, but also a really big, powerful rider, so this course should suit him. It is very much a power course rather than necessarily a technical course, as we've seen in some of the other rounds. So very similar in some ways to the Benidorm round, just a little bit less sand and a whole lot further from the sea. So looking at these faces, you see the series winner, Laurens Veit, still tucked in with this group. Did say he's going to see how the race progressed in the first few laps and see what they do after that. Now the gap has started to open up behind our leaders as they came in and through. And that leading pack just starting to stretch out as we see Nisbet now take a move up to the front of the race. So the 12 leading riders at the moment, group of 12 riders clear at the front behind the next chasing group. Well, that keeps breaking and reforming. Currently around about 5 or 6 riders in that chase behind. So the riders just whipping around. Clement Venturini actually taking a pretty sharp move, coming from the outside of the bend, coming into it, into the centre to go over the middle line, over the hurdles. As these riders come down to take this long horseshoe turn. This is directly after the start. Currently, Ellie is a bit leading out at the front at the moment, currently in what is third place in the series. Only a win can see him move up through the series standings and take second place from Michael Van Torenhout, who's not with us. Van Torenhout, of course, ill at Benidorm, really ceded his chances of the win, and I think now going to be looking forward to that race in Hoogerheide, a race that he goes well at in previous editions. So that leading group up onto the climb. Toon van den Bosch at the back of that long whip line of riders coming through, and each time they hit an obstacle, the compression and that expansion means the riders at the back having to work harder, having to accelerate, having to brake at less than opportune moment, and that is why you start to see these gaps come out between the riders that they have to close down time and time again. At the moment, Elizabeth being given his head and being allowed to ride his own race, which is how he likes it. He's one of those riders who much prefers to go at his own pace and not have it dictated by others. Just a little bit of a gap opening up between Clement Venturini and Kevin Kuhn. Kevin just with a little bit of work to do. That gap maybe only bike length or so on the way through. Then slightly more of a gap to Michael Boros in behind. Oh, my predictions of Mathieu Vanderpoel taking his gloves off and attacking definitely didn't come to fruition. Commentators curse in reverse, I think that is. Keeps the race together, and at the moment not seen the move yet as he goes up on to the front here. As we've seen in lots of previous races, knowing where you want to be, knowing where you want to be at the front is key. Vanderpoel takes the front just before this step section. He engages those pedals. Are we going to see a move now by the big Dutchman? So this French crowd in Besaçon now, seeing the riders as really start to stretch their legs as we move into lap number 4 of 9. Clement Venturini leading for the home nation on the way round, but now starting to see Vanderpoel out of the saddle, starting to just push that a little bit harder as he accelerates out. And you'll see that body language. The more he throws that bike around, generally the more aggressive the attack from Vanderpoel. If he's sitting super smooth, he's not going quite as hard as he might. Now, man with the former world champion bands on his wrists. Now look at that now, quickly out of the corner there and puts a kick down. This is a serious move now. Look at the gap he's opened up here. This is Vanderpoel opening the throttle, stretching his legs out. And on that one straight, that gap has opened. This could be the move that they all need to respond to. You can see Ellie Isbit, I think it was a deep intake of breath as they came up on to that climb. And that was all set in motion by moving into the race lead as they came into the steps, and then every time they've come out, accelerating that gap up. And look at that, we've got clear air now between the race leader and our second place rider. The time check just round the corner from there, showing us 3 seconds at the moment. We'll see if that maintains. Vanderpoel carrying plenty of speed around that turn. The back wheel just skipping out there as he kicks down, and he's got the full turn here, this dead turn between him, and he's being left to Venturini on home turf to drag the rest of this group back towards him. Isabit didn't want to do all of that work, but look at it, he's not capable of doing the work maybe of staying with the race leader. So solo riders starting to go clear. Pushing it right to the limit there. You saw him sweeping around almost into the entry point of the pit area. And this gap really has opened up. 10 seconds on the clock now between first and second place. And this is where we see the intentions of these riders. Who's fighting for points? Who feels that they could take on Vanderpoel? And how many of them are going to risk doing that, pushing themselves to the absolute limit 1 week out from the World Championships? At what point does Mathieu Vanderpoel ease back off again? Because one man who knows that this is his chance to excel in front of his fellow countrymen and women, it is going to be eventually really showing off the national championship jersey to full effect at the front of the race. But you can see the gap between them. Joris Nieuwenhuis sitting in the wheels here, as is Kevin Kuhn. A little bit gap back to Ellie Isbit, who closes up on that turn. So the move by Mathieu Vanderpoel, taking him clear into the race leader. The back of the race, Phil Toon Van den Bosch, actually one of the riders who is in trouble. His teammate, he is in 12th place behind Mace Hendricks, and then Connie van Kessel and Lawrence Sveek really at the back of the group. But as Vanderpoel comes through across the line, 27 km/h average speed. But the race pace really lifting. Venturini is going to come through once again, heading up this group. At the back of the group, you just see a little bit of a gap to Sveek as he goes through. Then behind Lawrence Sveek in 10th place is Connie van Kessel. Then we are going to see Mace Hendricks go through, followed by Van den Bosch. And then it's going to be the chasing group of Fontana, Roulier, Main, along with Kuipers, Dubau, Bainstains, all making their way in towards the line, but they're all left in the dust of this man is your race leader. Now look at that. Can't beat a bit of starting it up on the way through. Risky to do in a group, not always the most popular move, but great to see the riders using that part of the track.
Et semble plus que jamais bien parti pour espérer pourquoi pas faire un podium ici à Besaçon aujourd'hui. Voilà, va falloir gérer parfaitement.
Well, Venturini being cheered on, not just by the spectators, I think also by our speaker on site here, as they continue to push Michael Boris at the back of that group. A little bit of a gap behind him, but the biggest gap at the moment, 16 seconds from your race leader, Mathieu Vanderpoel, to Clement Venturini, the rider who was leading. It's now going to be Nieuwenhuis who's taken that lead. Indeed it is. So Nieuwenhuis now on to the front, and they can see the race leader coming in the opposite direction. They will know that gap has gone out. So one of the riders missing here today, Wout van Aert, not taking it to the start line here, not entering this race, choosing to move across to something a little bit closer to home over in hammer for the next Belgium race rather than coming across here. So the one of the domestic series in Belgium, and the Low Countries rather than taking the trip here, whereas Vanderpoel racing here. So the two riders in different venues at the moment. It's looking like it's going to be a race win apiece for the riders as they come in at the moment. And sets us up very nicely for a real battle when we go to Hoogerheide. So Nieuwenhuis with that slight gap to Venturini immediately behind. So Nieuwenhuis at the moment in 11th position in the series overall, looking to move himself up. He's not got a podium during the course of the World Cup Series this year. Question would be, can he do that here today? Certainly looking like he's on form, that the course suits him. He's right up in the mix, but he needs to shed some more riders on the way through. So Kevin Kuhn taking the left-hand line there. Very quick stairs, very quick feet from him up the staircase there. So Vanderpoel heels down, legs just braced himself there as he came round, keeping that centre of gravity low on the way down and in, then quickly getting onto that slightly faster gravel line, and that goes through the compacted sand and gravel that makes up the pathway here in Besaçon. So Clement Venturini at the moment only having ridden 2 rounds of the World Cup so far, and not been inside the top 10 today. Well, and putting on a great show for the home fans here today. I hope he doesn't blow his legs off doing this. He's doing such a great ride. And I'll tell you something, having those home shows clearly buoying him onwards as he continues to kick at the front of this chasing group. And doing damage again behind this group is fracturing once again. So Venturini and Nieuwenhuis almost glad to sit down there, I think, at the end of that effort up that slope. You just see that body language just a little bit dropping onto the saddle rather than lowering himself down. So this group definitely under pressure, but not fracturing. Laurens Fiek just sitting out of trouble, leaving a little bit more room between him and the riders in front. He won't want to have an issue. He doesn't need to chase the points. He's got that World Cup win. He's just maybe leaving a little bit more room between him and the riders in front. Now look at Vanderpoel at the moment. Masterclass from the Flying Dutchman up at the front. So another look behind by Venturini, just looking to see who's there. So Boros, the penultimate rider in this group, the last rider. It's Krillin Friestad's rider, the World Cup winner already. And that's the Laurens Fiek just holding the back of that group, just staying in, garnering some more points from the World Cup. The World Cup points, basically the point system is skewed so that the most points come from the World Championships than the World Cups, and then it drops down through the levels right the way down the international standings, just as it does in the national rankings of each rider. Those international points setting the value for the riders very often. It's not just based on points, of course, how much exposure on social media a rider can garner, what their reputation is, will all affect those team decisions, and what the teams are looking for in a rider as well will affect what they're worth. But the points, the ranking that is given by the UCI, the governing body of cycle sport across the globe, is the one that sets the initial benchmark. This man in the global superstar mark in another galaxy to many other professional riders, pretty much, along with Wout van Aert and the real big stars of the sport. Of course, doing so in multiple disciplines. behind are a real fight for position. Venturini again being left to do the work here. Nieuwenhuis sits on his wheels. Then it's Koen, Vanderpoel, Isabit, Kamp, Boris and Sviek making up that group to get back to Mies Hendricks and Connie van Kessel, who we saw together. Kevin Koen just manualing over that time rather than getting any air and whipping it up on the way through. Less likely to worry the riders behind him, in fairness.
Cette année le vainqueur de la Coupe de France, il est 12e à 41 secondes. Allez, le passage pour Patrice est pas bien doué également du côté des Français.
So the fight for second place, the riders in second position right the way down now to 11th place in the race. Well, that is the fight that you see on your screens at the moment. Behind Van der Bosch now being absorbed by the chasing group of Kuipers, Roulier and Fontana. Conroy as well as Dubau, Bainstains all in the mix for those chasing positions, for those chasing points. A little bit of a gap further back to Thomas Bain, then Timon Rug and Michael Crispin from the Giron team. Curtis White currently 26th place, a little bit further back down. Steve Chanel 35th at the moment. Felipe Orts 36th position. David Vanderpoel 38th. Pim Ronhal 39th. So some interesting results going to be coming out from this race in terms of what we take from that, looking forward into the future round, into the future World Championships that's going to be coming up, and of course what we take into next season when we look at this period next year as well. I've been lucky enough over the years to not just be commentating on the cross and speaker at the venue, but also recording the Cyclo-cross podcast for 6 seasons now, and always love the difference in opinion of who's doing what in the race, who made the racing happen. I'm sure Clement Venturini is going to get a mention or two in the next episode, and that and the battle about what we call the upsy-wupsies, the washboard, or the BMX track. Which is more accurate. The racing here starting to fracture once again as we see the riders change position. Kevin Koen now starting to stretch out with Nieuwenhuis and Isabit. Venturini dropping down into 5th position at the moment, and you can see these three have just shed the riders behind, and it's going to be Michael Boris who is now doing the chases. Venturini has dropped right back now. I think that is telling on just how much work he'll be doing. That all 28, nearly 29 seconds down on our race leaders to come in to the steps. So Koen leading up there in the yellow, blue and white. The train behind coming in at pace. Ellie Isabit still sitting in 4th place. Boris in 5th. Vanderpoel in 6th. Venturini in 7th position. This group all together. The gap from this group to the chasers behind Laurens Sviek, well, there's not much of a gap to Mies Hendricks and Gerben Kuipers to Van der Bosch. That gap is not huge, so we could see a coming together of the riders behind. We're only on lap 6 of 7, so just coming through to a complete lap number 6. When we reach the end of that, 2/3 of the race distance will be done. But are we going to see a coming together of the riders chasing, or will we see Koen, Nieuwenhuis and Isabit pull further clear from Boris Vanderpoel and co? One man who doesn't need to worry about that, just needs to keep on focused on getting the ride he wants out of this. Once he's broken that gap, now he's going to be using, I suspect, a little bit of tactical now, so to not to go too hard. He'll put in the effort he requires as his last race run out prior to the World Championships, which is almost on home ground. And look at this, the World Cup winner. He's up over the top here. He can't be touched in the standings. He's looking to take away more points here. It means he would extend his lead actually over Michael Van Toren and over this man, Ellie Isabit, who is really on the chase here. He might have let Vanderpoel go. He's not going to let Sviek go, surely. But Laurens Sviek, after sitting at the back and not doing anything, thought, well, do you know what? Time to go. Attacking down the side there, then Isabit, then it's Koen, then it's Venturini again. So the Frenchman just recovering a little bit on his way through. Laurens Fiek putting on a show for the crowds here, attacking and starting to open up a little bit of a gap. It's a quick response. Here's the move right from the back to the front, and you could see the riders looking at that, and it was Venturini and Isabit really who responded to that attack. Boris trying to move up the sides, but Kuhn just holding his own pace on the left-hand line. And to attack like that down that slope requires a lot of power. You've not just got to make the acceleration, but you also got to do so on a less than optimal surface. There's a fast race line, and there's a much slower, harder non-race line developed around the circuit here today. So move off that race line and start overtaking people. Things get very, very difficult indeed in terms of the power. It increases the risk of a puncture of an incident. But the pace of Fiek is continuing this push here, and this really has broken the group. It's fractured now, and the chase is on. It's Isabit who is chasing Laurens Fiek. At the moment, it's only a couple of seconds, if that, between second and third place. Almost equidistant from third to fourth as well to Kuhn. Then it's a little bit further back to Joris Nieuwenhuis, Clement Venturini, Michael Boris, and it looks to me Conny van Kessel and Gerben Kuipers, who were in danger of making contact with the back of this group, have now gone a little further back. This response has come now up to the line. It is lap 6 complete. It's now into lap number 7 as the chasers come together. But at the moment, it is going to be 3 riders who are going to come together. A look over the shoulder there by Kevin Kuhn. Isabit makes contact with Laurens Fiek, then it's Kuhn, then it's Joris Nieuwenhuis, followed by Venturini, followed by Boris. Then it is going to be Ryan Kamp coming in and through. So that gap still holding at around that half-minute marker, 30 seconds between your race leader, Mathieu Vanderpoel, from Laurens Fiek, who leads that chase through. The gap has opened up, and only 8 riders anywhere near close together as they came over the line that time. Now, Laurens Fiek formerly used to ride for the same team as the rider immediately behind him. So Fiek at the moment, the white jersey with the red bands of World Cup leader, now rides for the Krielen and Friesdaats team. The rider behind, Ellie Isabit, the team that Laurens Fiek left. Now it's the Pals Southern team. Ellie Isabit and Michael Van Turenhout were really making Laurens Fiek's life really hard in the early rounds, effectively working him over. And both using their teammates and the work that they're doing to work over the man who has become a World Cup winner. However, Van Turenhout not here, the rider in second place. His teammate third in the series is Ellie Isabit. But I don't think Isabit's going to try and muscle or use any kind of gang tactics on Laurens Fiek at the moment. But he does have a teammate up there. And just as Laurens Fiek was maybe thinking, well, I've shed at least one of the Pal Southern's riders, Ryan Kamp pops his head up and says, oh, no, you haven't. I'm back here. It's 2-on-1 again. You're up against it. And we've got teammates up in this leading group. So Boris Venturini making contact along with Vanderpoel there, just getting back in touch. Kuipers and Van Kessel group with Hendricks now a further 10 seconds back on this group. You can see the lap where that attack came in at 6:40. The first lap, only a partial lap on the way round on our screen. So 2,850 metres rather than the full 3,100 metre lap that is here in Besaçon. So behind Vanderpoel, the group coming together. Vanderpoel, oh, nearly made a mistake there. He came in very hot. I think there was 6 steps at once up that initial kick up there. And he's not going to want to hurt himself. He's got to be a little bit circumspect on his way through. He can't afford to go too gung-ho at it. Let's see that again. Oh, great recovery there. And it was maybe 3 or 4 rather than 6 on the way through, but I'd like to have legs long enough to be able to stride that out, never mind jump across that with the bike on my shoulder. And good recovery though on the way through, real quick cat-like reflexes to be able to right that when he got it slightly wrong. So Venturini and Boris at the back of this group. The riders in danger of getting sprung off the back by the acceleration of Laurens Fieke on the front here. Once again, this slow section followed by a quick section, just springing open those gaps. Laurens Fieke, since he's gained that jersey, has ridden really strongly up at the front of the series, winning round number 4, number 5, as well as taking a second place in rounds 1, 2, 7 and 9. Then he was looking at the overall at that point. He definitely showed that he had a calm head on him. He's not panicked. He knew what he had to do when he got to Benidorm. He did exactly that. He didn't put himself at risk of not scoring any points. He took away the series win with 1 round to go. He's on the front of this chasing group at the moment. He's keeping out of trouble. He's not going to find somebody who's going to get in his way. He's not going to be subject to somebody else coming off in front of him. That is a bit now. We're back with you. Comes up over the top, and Fieke going to back right off. I suspect going to head closer to the back of that group. And so we see them next time round, but back with Mathieu Vanderpoel sweeping round the turns here. So turning at pace, turning at speed. Yeah, I just took my hands off, just readjust the glasses on the way around as well. Great to see the skill level shown by our top riders in the world here on the World Cup. So it's been a fantastic round of racing all the way from our very first rounds in the United States in Waterloo and Fayetteville, right the way through Tabor, Maasmechelen, Beekse Bergen, Overijse, Hulst, into Anvers, as well as Dublin, Val di Sole, Gever and Zonhoven. We're in Benidorm last week, where we saw this man put in a fantastic battle with Wout van Aert. It was literally wheel to wheel. If you haven't watched it, please do go back and watch it. Find a way of watching it once again. It was an amazing race, and it will set you up for what is going to be an amazing World Championships in Hoogerheide next week. Really looking forward to that. Going to be down on the ground and able to get my hands dirty and literally have a feel of what that course is riding like in person for the World Championships. That's next week in Hoogerheide. Hoogerheide, of course, hometown of a certain Mr. Mathieu Vanderpoel. In fact, the race is called the Grand Prix Andrew Vanderpoel after his dad. And his dad, no slouch on a bike in on and off-road. So Vanderpoel round and going to come in to the line. This will be lap 7 complete. Again, he will go out on his penultimate lap on lap 8 of 9. So Nieuwenhuis leading this group. Just, I think, the pace coming off a little bit off this group. It's come back together just a little bit closer. Look at Fieke, that gap between him and the riders in front, where there's a technical section. He's just sitting off those wheels that little bit more than he normally would, just leaving a little bit more room. Whether that's subconscious, whether that's just race instinct, or whether he's actually thinking about that, it's a very smart move. He won't want to get caught up in any instance on a cracking ride on his way through. Good ride here by Kuipers, because Gerben Kuipers looks like he's made contact. He was in the Koning van Kessel group. He's made his way onto the back of that group. We saw him starting to close. He then yo-yoed off. He sprung off. He's made his way back on. That little bit of pace coming off the front of the group has allowed him to come back in. The gap has opened between our race leader and the chasers. It's currently at 52 seconds to Joris Nieuwenhuis. However, the gap behind has come down a little bit. Gerben Kuipers coming in and across that gap. It's still 10 seconds to Koning van Kessel, Vincent Bijnsteens, along with the rest of that group.
simplement ici on aperçoit l'écart qu'il peut y avoir entre
A little bit of a gap open to Lawrence Feek, had just been careful running the barriers, the planks on his way through, not working too hard to close this gap down. And even if he doesn't want to, the riders behind will need to start closing that gap down. But they see the race leader coming in the opposite direction up over the bridge at the moment. So for a rider who at the end of Zonhoven was questioning his participation in Benidorm, questioning his participation in Besaçon, and pondering whether he'd be able to ride the World Championships, Mathieu Vanderpoel at the moment looking very strong on the front, making his way around with nearly a minute lead on this chasing group behind. So Vanderpoel into the steps at the moment, stepping up the gaps as they make their way up. Gerben Kuiper's 10th place in the World Cup of Benidorm, really showing he was coming in to form a 5th place at the National Championships in Belgium and 18th at Zonhoven. Looking pretty strong this year, but wouldn't always have expected him to be the rider who's able to bridge across, one of the lighter riders in the group. Currently only 22, actually going to be his birthday on the 1st of February. I do say riders are stronger around their birthday, so it'll be interesting to see if he can continue this into next weekend. And these riders taking this right-hand turn, coming into the steps. This is the chasing pack. Iserbyt leading out at the moment as they go up to the top. Nieuwenhuis in second wheel. Just seeing a little bit of a recovery here by Vanderpoel, who comes up on the riders' left or right-hand side up onto the front of this group. I'm not sure anybody actually wants to take up the running at this stage. Don't often see the riders, 2-3 riders wide at this stage of the race. Had one lap to go for Vanderpoel when he hits the line next time. Our race leader already well on his way around the circuit. And it's being led to Elie Iserbyt at the moment to continue to hold the front of this group. Now, the next riders potentially who could join us, the pace comes right off this group. Connie van Kessel, Vincent Bainstains, Joshua Dubois, Toon van den Bosch. They're all in touching distance. They're not all that far behind this group. Looks like Koma from Poland, Hendricks, Maine, but the pace doesn't stay down for long, does it? Nieuwenhuis now pushes on. This is where we saw the big moves down the side by the riders. We saw Lawrence Feek push on his way down here. Kevin Kuhn is now, who's on the front, are really starting to string this group out. Really interesting to see that Niels van der Poel very quickly back up on to this group, having a tough patch earlier on. Hanging around the back, Michael Boris always seems to be the rider yo-yoing at the back of that group. He's got a little bit of company with the joining of Gerben Kuipers at the moment. Kuipers' lap times are very, very consistent. So Kuipers' lap times, and if you don't include that first lap, range from 6:53 to 7:01, so very little difference in his laps. In fact, almost all of them in the 6:50, 6:56, 6:57, 6:58 kind of marker. Mathieu Vanderpoel's by comparison, well, a 6:49, his 8th lap time, 6:50 the lap before, 6:52 the lap before that. The fast lap where he put in his attack, a 6:40. And definitely the decisive moment in this race, the fastest time by some 13 seconds. The next nearest is Elizabeth on lap 2, 6:53, his fastest lap, with Gerben Kuipers setting, in fact, the third fastest lap. That was on lap number 5. So Koen, Nieuwenhuis, Vanderpoel, the gap's just starting to pressure, just starting to open up once again. So Vanderpoel through the line out on to what is going to be his last lap. These riders are making their way down into towards the line, but Mathieu van der Poel is through. Are we going to see a whip? Oh, almost. That was quite reserved by Mathieu van der Poel standards. You know he's got the skills to turn that bike sideways, Stevie-like. The next Steve Art, of course, well known for that. So through the line go the chasers. That gap is going to be around about that minute mark, 59 seconds. The lead for Van der Poel, but we are being set up for a grandstand finish between this group. Koen, Nieuwenhuis, Van der Poel, Isabit, Sveek in there. We've got Ryan Camp, Gerben Kuipers, Clement Venturini, the French national champion, Michael Boris in there as well. These are the riders who are in the mix, likely to be fighting it out, and realistically, second place right the way down to what is 10th place up for grabs between these riders. Now Koen first over the top there, takes a look over, see if there's any gaps, anything been done in terms of damage behind. A little bit of a gap, opening it up to Laurens Fiek. I'll tell you something, I won't be following Laurens Fiek's wheel today, given the choice, because it's looking like he's just leaving those gaps, and it's giving it a little bit extra work for the groups behind. You want to be up in that leading pack. Dangerous place to be, sat that far back, and you know that Fiek's leaving room in case there's a mistake, in case there's a problem, he's going to get round safely, but it means that everybody behind knows that they're a little more at risk of being distanced. Michael Boris yo-yos off the back of this group again. He must be so on the limit or over it as Van der Poel comes up to the front, coming into the steps. He's going to get the fastest ascent and kick out. He should be able to make the most of this. And it's definitely, if you're at the front of this stage, you want to push. Will we see the teammate of Mathieu van der Poel get up onto the podium with him this time round? It's not certain that Mathieu van der Poel will take it, but barring an alien abduction or something of that magnitude, I don't think we're going to see Van der Poel be touched up for the race win. It's going to take a major mechanical at this stage to lose that kind of time. Never say never, though. We've seen it happen before. At this time, a little bit more careful up the steps of Van der Poel remounts. The race lead again, the applause of the spectators. So the whir of the free hubs just coming through as they come around that tight left-hand turn, just leading the bikes over, just trying to carry as much pace as possible to set themselves up with the chance of taking that second place. Mathieu van der Poel back up. Pretty much the only place you can get any kind of rest, actually, on that descent off that bank. Just lock those legs out. Now Ellie is a bit onto the front. It just looks a little bit more sprightly kicking out of that last corner. What's he going to do this time? Takes a little bit more of acceleration out there, but not enough. He wants to come into these steps first. Very fast legs from his bit up here. He doesn't want to get challenged. Is he going to open a gap on the exit here? This is where it'll tell, and he puts a big kick in now. So Ellie is a bit looking to stretch this out. Nieuwenhuis goes over the top of Kevin Koen as they come in. He's pulled him up into position. So is a bit wanting to take away the first spot of the chasers. The best of the rest behind Vanderpoel as Isabit kicks once again, and Vanderpoel is the only person who looks like he's got a chance here. I don't think Nieuwenhuis is going to make this across here. It's early doors to say it's Isabit, but he is looking strong at the moment. We know that he can dig deep, but we've got this long straight section coming up. How much damage has he done? How much gap has he managed to open up? Another big dig here, just out of the saddle, continues to kick out of the saddle, trying to open it. Nieuwenhuis goes over the top of Vanderpoel here. These two really want it. Can they close it down? They'll both want that podium position, but look at Laurens Fiek behind. Is he going to round off his World Cup series with a podium here today? Surely he's going to want to do that. He's going to want to show off that jersey on the podium. And look at the power of Fiek. He's closed down that gap to the back of Nieuwenhuis, gone over the top, and he's now into third position behind Elie Isabit. Well, Vanderpoel should stay clear of the dramas. He can't afford to relax. He can't afford that mistake that's also common, that once you've got it sewn up, you know you're on that final run in, to relax too much. He's got to stay focused, but the experience... Oh, big mistake. Problem there for Isabit on that corner. He stopped. He's had to, I think, put the chain on. I've not seen him come out of that corner. That is disastrous. We're just seeing an issue there for Elie Isabit. He was right in the mix, and this has left the door open. And it's Laurens Fiek who is now pushing almost from Nieuwenhuis, Vanderpoel, Camper, Venturini, Koen, Isabit out of the running. A real problem there for Elie Isabit, and I think it's drastic enough for him not to be in the mix. You can see the pit crews are going to be looking to get back in touch. Nieuwenhuis now coming up behind. He's got the gap. And there's still no sign of Isabit. Here he comes. He's got that bike rolling. So whatever that issue was, that has taken him out of contention. I'm glad I'm not in that team car on the way home with him at the end of the day today. That's not going to be a happy team car, but one very happy man and one very happy team is going to be the team from the Alpecin de Koenigs team. It is another race, a win for Mathieu Vanderpoel. He sets himself up with a winning run in of 2 World Cup wins, running in to the very last race of his season, which will, I'm sure, be the World Championship. Laurens Fiek has got the gap after that problem for Isabit. He's gone over the top. Are we going to see the World Cup winner coming in second place? They're going to be fighting for position behind Vanderpoel, not exactly cruising across to go get warmed down. And look at this. He was quiet. He laid back. He stayed out of the way. He stayed out of trouble. And it's going to pay off for Laurens Fiek. He left enough of a gap to make sure that he wasn't in the wrong place. Then it's Nieuwenhuis. Then look at this. Venturini in the French national champs jersey is coming in. It's going to be tight behind. They can't afford to make a mistake. Laurens Fiek, the World Cup winner, comes across the second place. Nieuwenhuis versus Venturini. It's Nieuwenhuis who takes the podium. Venturini is going to take a fantastic 4th place for the home country here today. But what a finish in that race. And you've got a feel for the riders behind. Good ride there by Kuipers coming across to join that group in 8th place here today. That is his best result, I think, in the World Cup so far. And it's going to be Boris, and then Elie Isabit comes through. Isabit will take a podium position in the series overall, but he would dearly have loved to be on the top there of the podium at the end of that. So here we go. Laurens Fiek comes through and heads for the podiums as our next rider in over the line is Connie van Kessel ahead of Vincent Besaçon. I think, yes, it is. So they come through. Dubau coming through for France ahead of Conroy. Then Thomas Main. Thomas in 16th position. He's going to come in ahead of Creeland, Friestad's Mies Hendricks coming in inside the top 20. Good ride here by Loris Roulier for the Lagarde team ahead of Filippo Fontana. Fontana, the Italian champion, makes his way in over the line in 19th place. Should be our Swiss champion, Timo Ruig, ahead of Kevin Suarez. But could be that Timo Kielik has gone over the top. Let's have a look. So there we go, Suarez in over the line as Keelik comes in behind him. Then our early race leader is going to be Besaçon, I suspect, for Tormans coming in. The man who led out early doors, not able to maintain the pace in over the finishing line here today. Oh, what a win. He adds to his totals of wins. That's now 5 wins, 1 second place and 1 road round in Val di Sole for an 8th place for Mathieu Vanderpoel. The World Cup win, well, it's a 2nd place in the race today, adding to that win in the World Cup Series overall for Laurens Fiek. Joris Nieuwenhuis taking that 3rd place up at the front of the race all the way through, winning that final battle ahead of Venturini and co. And Andre Vanderpoel, Matthew Stad, carrying the bike back from the pit. The man who has spent most of the week down on course at Hoogerheide and has been a very busy man down at the course at Hoogerheide, makes his way in, and it looks like Joris Nieuwenhuis just... we may well manage to get a word with the man who took away what was a great sprint for 3rd place. We'll see soon. Steve Chanel on his way around. Steve due to retire, as far as I can remember, at the end of this. And getting the push onwards, that's great to see. A push in there by Marcel Meissen of Germany as they come in. Is Steve going to go for the high fives from everybody? I'm sure he is here today. So Steve Chanel, he's had some great racing, some great races in action. Great to see him making his way through. In fact, may even catch up with him for a bike ride, as he's actually got family 2 doors down from where I am in France. So great to see Steve come down here, and he's going to get a huge amount of support. Marcel Meissen there, bringing him in and across the line. The applause for someone who has entertained us year after year. Thanks, Steve. So let's catch up with our podium riders. I think we can begin with the man who took 3rd place here today in that race-long battle in that group.
Joris Nieuwenhuis, you stood on the podium in the national championships, but this is your first podium in a cross like this since the comeback. How does that feel?
Feels great. Also a bit unexpected because I didn't feel so great past few weeks. I mean, I did a lot of training in Spain, and I even said to my dad, like, just leave the podium back in the camper because I don't feel great, and I will go back to the camper as soon as possible. And then, I mean, I think a race like this suits me well. You also see it in Zolder when it's a bit together, and then, yeah, in the end, I did feel great, so it was nice.
So now you're standing here without the podium bag.
Yeah. Luckily, Erik, he had some clothes for me afterwards, so it's also okay.
But we did see that you had to dig really, really deep.
Yeah, especially the last lap. There was one short climb, and they all went full because we knew, like, if you're on the top of the climb, then you cannot pass much. So yeah, there we had to dig super deep, and then it was just all the way to the finish.
En je hebt ook een WK-selectie te pakken natuurlijk voor dat wereldkampioenschap in eigen land. Hoe ga je daar nu nog op voorbereiden? Wat wordt jouw rol?
Ja, de voorbereiding zal... ik hoef deze week niet meer veel te trainen, dus het is een lekker rustig weekje. Wat wordt mijn rol? We hebben natuurlijk 1 kopman daar, 1 favoriet. Dat zag je vandaag ook weer. Nou, ik verwacht eigenlijk niet heel veel te kunnen doen. Ik ga daarachter gewoon... ja, ook zo goed mogelijk eigen wedstrijd rijden. En ja, dan zien we wel.
Veel succes daarmee en nog eens proficiat met vandaag. Dankjewel.
Well, great to hear from Joris Nieuwenhuis, and what a day not to have the podium bag taken up to the finishing line, and it shows you what his expectations were. That's always the way we love to see it. The riders doing better than they expect in front of the great crowd here in Besaçon in France, and Nieuwenhuis really is on the comeback, and be interesting to see how his season progresses onwards from here. A great ride by him here today, and taking away that 3rd place. high fives, the crowd getting behind our riders, and definitely looking forward to seeing their heroes up on to the stage. And the end of the World Cup, our final podium of the World Cup series that has taken us around the globe. And the final results are top 10 with Isabit in 10th after that incident, then Boris, Kuipers, Kuhn and Camp in 9th, 8th, 7th and 6th respectively. Vanderpoel coming through for 5th with the French national champion Clement Venturini, a really good season, topping 4th place. And the standings, well, they haven't changed. At the top, Laurens Fiek at the top of the standings, still there, with Van Torenau and Isabit behind. Van der Heyen there. Vanderpoel putting in a good race, but no major changes at the end of that round. Let's look at today's racing. So away from the start, it was a very quick kick off from the start. Kevin Kuhn for the squad from the Tillman squad, trying to be up in the front, but it was home man, the French national champion Clement Venturini, who really did make this race his own early on. But Mathieu van der Poel manoeuvred himself up on to the front of the race. By the time they came into the steps, he wanted to have that position. As they came out from the technical sections onto the long straight, he opened up the afterburners. He set really the course on fire and put in a huge gap in a very short space of time, showing why he is just so hard to beat. This left the chasing group strung out behind. And Venturini it was who did much of the work to try and stay on the front in front of his home crowd here. Joris Nieuwenhuis, ever attentive, sitting in and around 2nd, 3rd, 4th position. Elie Isabit, well, he wanted to move up the standings, wanted to take away maximum points here to help with that. So, standing with his UCI standings overall to keep him in position. He tried to attack to go clear to break this group up, but Laurens Fiek wanted the group back. He wanted to close down on Isabit, the nearest challenger here today to him in the cycle race. He wasn't going to let him go, maybe thinking about those early races or when he'd had a hard time, but he swept past Isabit, who had a problem with the bike on the last tight turn. Isabit dropping her down from the fight for 2nd place right the way down into 10th position and struggling to stay in contention. And once he got that bike up and rolling, he had a little bit of a gap on the riders behind, but not as big a gap as this man. It was Mathieu van der Poel taking victory 2 in a row after a tight race against Wout van Aert last week. World Cup winner Laurens Fiek came through to take 2nd place ahead of Joris Nieuwenhuis, taking away that 3rd place in that run for the line. So our riders in and done. The riders are readying themselves for our final podium of the World Cup Series. Don't forget, of course, next week and next weekend we run into our World Championships in cyclo-cross with the team relay, our junior men's and women's, our under-23 competition and our elite competitions, and it's going to prove to be a really exciting race. We've got the hot favourites racing at different races and racing at different places in both the women's and men's races, and it's going to be very interesting to see who takes away from this weekend the most and who is going to come in maybe feeling that they didn't have what they wanted in the tank when it came to the racing. Number of riders sitting out this weekend as well, so it's going to mean that it is going to be very, very fun when we come in to the Hooger Heider races that round out the calendar internationally. We still have, of course, lots of the domestic cross and some of the North European series as well still going to be taking place, but the big weekend for all the riders where we will see our world champions crowned, and they will be new world champions with no Marianne Vos or Tom Pidcock in our elites. It's going to be great to see who's going to take those positions. Our riders are ready, being ready for the podiums here in Besaçon. There's some great racing here in France. Well, I think a few of the riders would have wished they had a plane to take them back up as fast as possible. Let's see if the man who was flying almost as fast as the plane in the sky, fancies a lift home. Let's hear from Mathieu Vanderpoel.
Mathieu Vanderpoel, you waited a few laps maybe to attack. Was that a deliberate choice today?
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard to make a difference already from the start. I wanted to take it a bit easier in the beginning and then see what I could do with an attack on the hardest part of the course, and that went well. So I'm happy.
That went well. That was very impressive. You had a big gap right away.
Yeah, I mean, on a fast course like this, that's the best thing you can do. You know, if it's a big group behind you, they will look at each other a few times. So that was the goal, and I was happy that I immediately had a nice gap, and then I was trying to ride my own pace until the finish line.
How ready do you feel right now for the Worlds? How were the legs? How was the back?
Yeah, I felt pretty good actually. Was again fast course. Depends on the weather conditions for next week what it will be, but for sure I think I can be happy with how I felt today, and hopefully with some rest next week I feel at my best next week.
How will you prepare though for the Worlds next week?
I will do a few hard but short trainings, and then hopefully rest up and get the best legs of the season next week.
Iedereen die ik zo wat gesproken heb op de koers, die zegt het is 50-50 voor volgende week. Hoe zie jij die waardeverhoudingen? Hoe schat jij de kansen?
Ja, het ligt een beetje aan de benen van de dag, maar ik denk inderdaad wel dat het 50-50 kan zijn. Uiteraard heeft Wout al een paar keer misschien wel het voordeel gehaald, maar hopelijk kan ik volgende week weer werk bieden. En dan hebben we al een paar keer gezien dat we wel aan elkaar gewaagd zijn.
Maar jij voelt je er wel klaar voor?
Jawel, ik voelde me vrij goed vandaag. En met nog een paar korte trainingen, maar rust hoop ik volgende week mijn beste cross te rijden.
Dankjewel.
So very interesting that they're asking him about whether or not who was going to take it between him and Wout. 50-50 odds pretty much, I think, and I'd agree with that. Although the four-time world champion, he's got to be one of the favourites, given he's won 5 times in Hooger Hyde in a World Cup before. But one man who had a great day at the office, it's our World
Laurens
Cup
Week, what happened
winner.
at the beginning of the race, because you were behind a bit?
Yeah, I had a bad start, and then in the end of the first lap there was a crash in front of me, and there was a gap I have to close, and then it was difficult to gain a few places, and then I think when Mathieu did the attack, the guys were like looking to each other, and then it was the moment for me to go to the front, and in the end it was the second place was the highest possible. So.
And heavy legs today after the training camp, or not really?
Yeah, a little bit, but I didn't jump the barriers, and there was also a point on the race that I lose some seconds. So every lap I have to close them, but I think in the end second was the highest thing.
How much are you looking forward to the Worlds now? Because you will be racing on Friday already as well.
Yeah, a lot. It's the biggest race of the season, so it's also a point on the season that it comes almost to the end. So I'm looking forward to it.
Met welke persoonlijke ambities trek jij nu naar Hogerheide volgende week?
Ja, ik heb toch wel podiumambities. Ik denk dat ik dat wel na afgelopen seizoen mag zeggen. En ik denk dat de omloop redelijk te vergelijken is met vandaag misschien een beetje. En ik hoop dat het ook gewoon het wel gaat liggen. En snel, dat gaat in mijn voordeel zijn, denk ik.
En podiumambities, dan spreek je over de mannencross, veronderstel ik. Maar de mixed relay, mogen jullie dan hoger mikken?
Ja, dat is enorm moeilijk in te schatten. Dat gaat niet alleen van mij afhangen. Maar ik denk dat we wel een ploeg hebben waar dat we mee op het podium geraken. En als alles wat mee zit, misschien wel iets meer ook. Dus ik denk dat we allemaal gemotiveerd zijn en dat is het belangrijkste.
Veel succes en nog eens proficiat met die eindwinst in de Wereldbeker ook. Dankjewel.
So Laura's Feek racing both in the individual race and in the team relay that takes place to kick off the weekend. A mixed relay race, always great fun to watch. And this rider we know is going to give it everything. Great to see him rounding out the race here, the Creelan Freestats team. taking away the World Cup win, and not surprised they are elated. The World Cup win, very important. It goes down in the history books, and Laurens Fiek, right, I've had the pleasure of commentating on for a long time now, it has to be said, doing the business here today. He's going to be on the podium, of course, for second place in the race, and he'll also be on there receiving the World Cup Winners' Trophy. So we'll move on to our podiums for the race. First of all, our three riders making their way up and on to the stage. So our top three now know the end of the World Cup season is done, that final race, and great to see our riders coming up in. So taking third place, it is Joris Nieuwenhuis from the Boas Trek squad, takes that third place. So the flowers awarded to our third place rider, Joris Nieuwenhuis, who steps up on to the podium. Second place going to the rider from the Kreeland Freestadt team. That is Laurens Fiek. Lauren taking race wins in rounds 4, 5 on the way through, but no stranger to second place. First round, second round, 7th round, and 9th round to second place. But this man taking a centre stage, taking a top step. It is the rider who is taking away the race win. He takes a win into the World Championships next weekend. It is, of course, former world champion Mathieu Vanderpoel. So the trophy going to Vanderpoel, the fantastic trophy commemorating the Besaçon history of timekeeping here, and in fact going to be receiving a watch from the event sponsors as well. I'm sure he'll be treasuring that as well. Very nice. Presented by the AC Besaçon team here, the local organising club, the Amical Cycliste Besaçon. So our riders all up on the podium. So our riders now off their caps, take the hats off for the national anthem. Congratulations to all of our podium riders, and thank you to all the riders who have been racing all the way through our World Cup series. And some 3 riders on that stage who really have shown just some amazing form. Great to see Joris Nieuwenhuis on his comeback. Really is coming back into the form that we would see and expect him to be challenging for a podium long term, not just the World Cup, but in the World Championships as well. Laurens Fiek, of course, our World Cup winner, doing the business once again. And we often see our World Cup winners just riding around, just going through the motions or not even turning up. Great to see him there and determined to put on not just a great show, but get the best result he could from today. Your race winner, Mathieu Vanderpoel, no stranger to receiving the accolades. He makes his way off stage, ready to head back home to Hoogerheide and get himself ready for the World Championships. The World Cup winner's jersey, well, it goes to Laurens Vink. Well deserved after what has been a long season. He's ridden every single round on the way through to taking that victory, and has spent more time on a podium than off it, and it shows just how strong he is. He took that win and confirmed the win in Benidorm last week. He's presented with the World Cup Winners' Trophy. Your 2022-23 UCI Cyclo-cross World Cup overall winner, it's Laurens Vink. Well, the Creelan Free Stats team will be over the moon with that result, taking away the win, and you can see what it means to that team, that's for sure. Great to see that the rest of the crew are looking after it, and it's been an absolute pleasure putting words to the action for our final World Cups as well as at Maasmechelen. So from me, Matt Payne, enjoy yourselves, stay safe on the bike. We'll see you again next week for the World Championships. Bye-bye.